Hello my beauties, happy Monday to everyone. I hope you're all having a wonderful day. I'm gonna be cooking, I'm gonna be chopping up my food stuff, but I wanted to come on here and talk to you guys. This is gonna be the I guess part 2 in this My Truth series that I'm posting on my channel. So warning, the topics that I'll be talking about today may be triggering. I'm sorry if you hear noise. If you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, you'll know that my AC took a poop on us yesterday or the day before. So I have a fan blowing on the floor, big fan, because it's really hot and I have to cook. So this video may be triggering to some people. In today's video, the last time I did one of these, my first one, was in regards to rape. This one, we're going to be talking about child abuse. I'm sorry if I'm not looking up at you guys. This was a way that I felt that I would be able to do this video and share it with you guys, was if I was doing something else, because rape topic is very strong to me, but it was easier for me to talk about. Now, talking about child abuse, because of my situation and the things that I went through, is a little bit harder. And especially because still till recently I wasn't being physically abused. However, abuse comes in many shapes and forms, you guys. So my hopes with this video is to help at least one person get out of a bad situation or save someone that they know that is in a bad situation. So today, I'll be talking about my parents, my biological parents. In my mind, as of December 31st, my mother was my grandmother and she's in heaven. And I've never really had a father. I've been calling my stepdad dad for a few years, but it's funny now that I don't talk to my mother, despite things that she's done to him. He has taken her side, and I understand, that's his wife. I am just a woman that he met already as an adult with children, and I'm not really his daughter. He didn't raise me, so I get it. He loves her. I'm sorry for him, I'll be honest, but he does love her. I'm not here to bash my mother or my biological father. I'm here to speak my truth in a process of healing and letting go. People always tell you to let go of your past so that you can move forward into the future. That's hard. That's really hard. When your past continues to come up into your present or your future, it's hard to let it go. So I don't know really where to start. I figured I'd tell you guys a few of the stories in this video of some of the child abuse that I went through. I don't really want to talk about my mother on this video today. The one thing I will say is that I'm very happy today, as far as I reached out to my middle brother on her side. We call it half brothers. I don't believe in that half stuff. I said that in my last video. He's my brother, and we never really were able to have a relationship, and he doesn't want anything to do with her, which I totally 100% understand. But I was able to reach out to him today through Instagram, and we had a long conversation. And it felt good to know that my brother loves me. I'm the oldest out of 3 that she had. My little brother loves me. He's a few years younger than me, about 3 or 4 years younger than me. And I want to start a relationship with him. It's never too late. He knows that it's not our fault that our parents were messed up. his father included in this, parents. Because his father did play a part in the child abuse that I went through growing up. Just in the very early stages of my life, when I was about 3. So yeah, I'm gonna talk to you guys today about my father, my biological father, and what he did to me, and how he affected me, and what he did to her, allegedly, because I even if I'd have been there, I'd have been a baby, because they broke up when I was a baby, like literally a baby in diapers. But growing up, for the first, I want to say up until I was about 9 or 10, my father was in my life over the summers. He used to live in Orlando, Florida, and I was raised in Miami, as I've said before. So for the summers, like most divorced or separated parents do when they have children, I would go visit my father. And the first few times was great. I thought it was great. However, eventually he showed me his true colors, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about today. People say that children don't remember, and I'm here to tell you that's not true. I remember what he did to me. And he's not a good person, you guys. I'll tell you this. Currently, my father is serving a life sentence in prison due to the murder of my stepsister, which I never met. And I'm not going to get into those details, but currently my father's in prison. The last time I saw him in person was when my oldest son was born, Lazaro, and my oldest son is about to be 21. What does that tell you about our relationship? I don't want anything to do with that man. He has, since he's been in prison, reached out to me through family, which I don't really have much to do with, either side of my family. I pretty much stay to myself. I don't ask anyone in the families, in either side of the family, for anything. I just keep to myself. But I don't want anything to do with him, and if ever anyone on his side of the family sees this video, you can let him know that. I will never forgive him for the things that I had to endure due to his poor decisions. I don't want anything to do with him. I don't hate him. I just have no love in my heart for him. So let's start some of the stories. This will be like a story time. So I remember I must have been about 7 or 8, and he had a girlfriend. If I come out of frame real quick, guys, it's because I need to rinse what I'm doing. He had a girlfriend that had 3 teenage boys, or about to be. One of them, I think, was about to be a teenager, and I was about 7 or 8 years old. And her boys used to run around the house in whitey tighties. And one day, I don't know why, I don't remember exactly what happened, but basically one of the boys told her and my dad that I used to like to look at his private parts. First of all, you're running around the house in whitey tighties. And for those of you who don't know what whitey tighties are, they're briefs. The white ones. They're briefs that are white, that are see-through just about. At that age, I didn't know what that thing was. So, like, really, it was no, oh, I'm checking you out because, oh, you're sexy. It wasn't. My father then pulled me to the bedroom and pulled out his work belt, which was a leather belt about, I want to say, about 2 inches thick I remember it had 3 clips, and he messed up my butt really bad. The next day, we ended up going to a family gathering, and I needed to use the bathroom, and I couldn't sit because there was cuts, not scratches, not scrapes. I had cuts on my butt, real bad ones, to a point where I literally could not sit. I had to stay standing or laying down on my side for a while. My aunt walked past the bathroom and heard me crying, and she came in because she didn't know who was in there. She knocked, and I said it was me and I would be right out, and she said, no, baby, open the door, let me in. And I let her in, and that was when she realized what had happened. And my father was pulled out of this party and beat up by a group of other people, men that were there, for what he did to me. Then I didn't get to go back with him for the rest of that summer. My aunt was in charge of sending me back home to my mother. I remember hiding after that. Every time he would come to see me in the closet or under the bed, and my mom having to pull me out because she needed a break from me so she could do her thing. Like a lot of mothers say, oh, I need a break from my kids. No, you don't. You shouldn't have had them then. You don't need a break from your daughter. Especially not when you're sending her to someone who punched you in your face and broke your nose. Or someone who, while you were pregnant with his twin babies, beat you up so bad that you lost them and miscarried them. You don't need a break from your daughter that bad. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care who agrees or disagrees. Listen, I have children. You don't do that. People who know my story as far as my children go, my 2 youngest, will say, well, your ex-husband abused you physically, was violent towards you. Why didn't you fight harder to get your kids back from him? Well, I'll tell you this. He did. He abused me. We physically went at it. And I'm going to make this clear in this video. I am not by any means a victim of anything. I am a survivor. I survived everything that was thrown at me, and I'm still here. There's a difference. But the father of my kids, he didn't abuse my kids. The fights, the physical abuse was with me. And I'll tell you guys this story. How did I lose my kids? See, my mother had kicked me out of the house. She told me that I had to go, but I could leave my kids. With the upbringing she gave me, there was absolutely no way in this world I was going to let her raise my children. And I was going to leave. And why did she kick me out? Was because she wanted me to run an errand for her. And I got home a little bit late. And so she felt she needed to kick me out of the house. Which is funny because, you know, this past year that I lived there, we got into a fight once. And she kicked me out, and she told my fiance that he didn't have to leave. I had to go. But that's my mom, you know, the lady that loves her daughter so much. In front of her therapist and her psychiatrist, she loves me so much, and I am the problem, not her. Let me tell you about this child abuse. Child abuse doesn't just have to be physical, even though I do have scars. See if I could still find it. I have a buckle mark on one of my arms. I have a lot of scars. I have a buckle mark on one of my arms from my mother. She cut me open with a broken belt. So abuse doesn't just have to be physical. Abuse is mental as well. She told me in an argument that it was my fault that when I was 3 years old, excuse me guys, I'm gonna play this way for a second, that when I was 3 years old, it was my fault that she went to prison. I have witnesses to this, you guys. Like, she can try and come for me, I don't care. I have witnesses to what I'm saying. That it was my fault she was arrested when I was 3 years old. I repeat, going on 4. Because she was in prison for a year and a half. She said to me in an argument as an adult now, you know, like, this wasn't very long ago, that it was my fault that she got arrested because I told her I was hungry. I was 3. Why, as my mother, did you not have food in the refrigerator for me already? Why did you need to go out and rob a convenience store supposedly to feed me? No, the truth is, but see, she was so into drugs that she forgets that she tells me the actual truth and then expects me to swallow her lies. I said I wasn't going to talk about her, but see, the thing is that I have anger towards my biological father, but I don't really care for him because he's never really been in my life. She has. I've always tried to love her. I've always tried to keep her around. I've always tried to keep our family together. I've always given her advice to do better. I've been the big sister / mom when that's her role. So, yeah. Why didn't you have food for your 3-year-old? The real story is, because she did tell me this when I was younger, that she was with this man and he told her in Spanish, I bet you won't do what I do. And she said, well, what do you do? And he took her to the convenience store to rob it. And he left her there. And she got caught. And that's why she went to prison. That is when me and my little brother were separated. My little brother was a baby. She had left us at a motel to go do this with this man. That's where we were found. I'm only about 3 or 4 years older than my brother. I was a baby and he was a newborn. She left us there to go do this because I told her I was hungry. Mind you, she had us in a motel. Yes, she was abused by my biological father. Yes, she was abused by my brother's father. He knows this. He's aware that his father was not a good person back then. I don't know what kind of person he is now. To be honest, quite frankly, I do not care. I don't want anything to do with my brother's father. I just want my brother in my life. These people destroyed us. So yeah, it's my fault. You know, I've done a lot of research on mental health ever since I was diagnosed bipolar. And it doesn't take me being a psychiatrist to realize that my mother actually does have narcissist traits. And I was handed the shitty end of the stick, excuse my French, where most of us are adults. And I don't think that that word is that bad of a word, but it's an honest word. I got handed the bad end of the stick because my brother was given to his grandmother on his father's side, and she fought and she didn't let him go back. He told me today how she used to tell him when she was alive that she wished that she was my grandmother as well, and she would have fought for me too to keep us together. Now, that being said, you guys heard me talk about my grandmother, her mother, in my last video. It was her mother, you guys. My grandma never lost hope in her daughter. And I understand that. As a mom, I get it. She never lost hope. She always loved her daughter. Even though she knew what type of a person her daughter was. She always hoped that she would change. So long story short, I don't want to make this video too long. I'm getting a little choked up but I want to let go of this pain already. Long story short, the last time my mother physically got abusive with me was when I was 17 years old. And the only reason why that was the last time was because I'd had enough. I did not hit my mother. But I had gotten into an argument with my my little brother's father. The youngest one of us. He's my little brother's actually disabled. He doesn't walk or talk. He's now 19, but back then he was a baby. And actually my son was a baby. And I had gotten into a fight with him because me and her had been arguing, and he decided to step in. Mind you, this man isn't but about maybe 5 years older than me. That was my stepfather back then. A person that was close to my age, and he tried to tell me how I had to respect him. I can't respect you. First of all, me and my mom are having an issue. You did not raise me. You're not my father. You do not do for me, because at that time my grandmother was living with us. So my grandmother was the one that did for me. You do not do for me. You're no one to me. And how dare you raise your voice or try and demand things from me? Like, no, it didn't work that way. And so whatever. Long story short, he swung a punch at me and I swung back. Yes, I can fight. If I haven't said that before, I'm sorry. My face is so red. I look like a little cherry. It's hot. So after that fight with him, I went in my room. I locked the door. I closed the door. I didn't lock it. I closed the door. And I was listening to music, and I laid on my bed with my eyes closed. The next thing I knew, my mother was sitting on top of me, taking blows to me. And I told her to get off. So since I didn't want to hit her, I grabbed her by the hair and I told her, get off of me, or I am going to defend myself. What she had done, which I didn't know yet, is that when she came into my room, she locked my door. So my brother's father and my grandmother were trying to get into the room and they couldn't because she had locked the door. They had to literally break the door down and get her off of me. Mind you, the reason why they broke the door is because when she heard them struggling, she started screaming that I was hitting her. And I literally was just holding her hair. Holding, and not even pulling. Holding. And asking her to get off of me. That day, I looked at her in her eyes and I said, this is the last time you put your hands on me. You can't do this to me. I'm not a little girl. I'm done. Like, no, we're not doing this. Guys, child abuse is no joke. Not only does the person that's doing this to this child is hurting them, it's not just that. It messes up their mind. And it could potentially cause this person to attempt to commit suicide or turn into a monster or do things that they wouldn't have done had they not gone through these things. I am grateful because my grandmother raised me with a very strong conscience. And so I've made mistakes. You know, I used to fight a lot in school to get rid of a little bit of the pain, because I always loved my mom. No matter what she did, I always loved her. It didn't matter how many blows she threw at me. She was mommy. And my grandmother had a saying, your mother's your mother even if she's made out of vinegar. And this was in Spanish. So for those of you Latinas out there, madre es madre, aunque sea de vinagre. Yes, I speak really good Spanish. I'm trying to be a little lighthearted here, guys. Bear with me. So yeah, if she ever watches this, I don't forgive you. No more. I'm not God. It's not my place. When you meet our Maker, then you know, if He decides to forgive you, that's up to Him, and I'm accepting of that. Do I hate you? I would never be able to hate you even if I wanted to. But I don't want you in my life anymore. I will not continue to allow you or anyone to hurt me. I will not continue to allow you or anyone to manipulate me. It's not okay. It's not. I'm just so sad for my little baby brother that he got stuck with you. Because you don't care about us. None of us. None of the 3 children you had. All you care about is how you can use us to benefit yourself. And that's a fact. You've shown it to us. We have witnesses, people that have seen you do it. All of my friends